talk a little bit about how we started playing for the Rangers and then catch up. I mean, we probably haven't spoken in 10 years, so it'll be good.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it'll be a normal phone call, but recorded.
Yeah.
So probably have to tone the language down a little maybe, but yeah, anyway, so yeah, Mike Richards. I joined the Rangers in 2001, got drafted by Kitchener, and my duration in Kitchener was 2001 to 2005.
All right, so I'm Andre Benoit. I was there at the same time as Mike. I got there a year earlier, I think, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but
only 20 years.
Yeah, I think we had at least 4 years together, so it'll be nice to catch up and see what you're up to.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you live right now. I'm assuming Northern Ontario, but fill me in a bit.
Yeah, back home in Kenora, and yeah, it's definitely been a while. Moved back here when I finished playing in 2016, and yeah, just came back. Got married last summer in the middle of a pandemic, which was good and bad, I guess.
How did you manage that?
It went from being it went from being like it wasn't really a huge wedding, but we had like a huge party planned, and it went from like 200 people as guests to myself, obviously my wife Kate, and then my two parents, and that was it. That was the whole guest list. So it actually we didn't mind it, but it obviously wasn't great only having two people there, but it was good. And then other than that, we just spend my time back here, and we go down to Florida in the winter for a couple months, and other than that, just try to find things to do. How about you? Whereabouts are you?
I'm a little place called Wyvale in Ontario, which is an hour north of Toronto. Kind of when we met, my parents were living in Barrie, Penetanguishene, and that's the area I settled in. With my wife, we've been married. Oh, I'm putting myself behind the 8 ball here. I'm going to mess this up. Been married a long time.
I was just going to say, you should don't put an exact number on it.
Yeah, between 12 and 14 years anyways. And yeah, we got 2 kids, 2 daughters, Emma and Haley. They're 12 and 9, so they keep us busy. And yeah, my life now is just work and kids activities, which is, it's really nice to have some sort of like routine and little normal life. When hockey was so hectic, I moved around every year. So wasn't as lucky as you, keep kind of settling down for longer periods of time. But Sid, where'd you end up playing? Should have looked this up too.
Yeah, Philadelphia, and then went to LA. I was Philly for 6 years, LA for 4, and then finished off a year in Washington, and then that was it.
And how was the transition?
How about you? Yeah, it was probably the same as you, actually. Like the way you described it, of like everything being so hectic, and then the first year out, it was almost just like, you take a big deep breath, and then you enjoy not having much going on, and then it got to a point where it was just like, wow, I got to do something here, because the days are starting to get a little long. But so we actually, my wife and I bought some property, and now we have like a horse farm about a half hour from our house. So go out there, and we have a little bit of a business out there that we run, and she rides and stuff. So that's what keeps me busy for the most part. And then the summers is obviously a little bit busier, but winters in Ontario, you kind of forget what they're like, and they can get long. So we needed something to do. So we ended up putting together a little business, and that's about it. But yeah, it's been good to kind of fill that void with something. But the first probably 6 months, I think you start getting a little bit lazy, or kind of looking for things to do and enjoying the time off. But after that, it's nice to have some routine. to really enjoy the days instead of just kind of passing. But I'm assuming that's kind of similar to you, and especially with kids, it probably gives you more of a routine too.
Yeah, for sure. I lucked out in that while I was playing my last few years, my wife's like uncle told me that he was a firefighter, and he said, you know, when you're done hockey, you should consider doing that. So sure enough, when it was time to retire, I gave him a call and kind of went through and figured out how that was all going to play out, and fell in love with the profession. And so I had to make a decision whether I was going to play one more or go to school to be a firefighter. And I ended up doing that. And, you know, I love it. And it gives me routine in that team atmosphere that I was kind of afraid of missing. Like, I knew hockey, I was done. Like, I was ready to put my gear away, but I was going to miss hanging out with the guys. So I get a little bit of that still, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Actually, that's impressive to go right from hockey to going right back to school for to be a fireman, really. But you took school when you were in Kitchener still, right? Or was that just kind of like taking classes instead of school, or was that?
Well, I had the idea to kind of work towards my degree, and I did take some class at Laurier and Waterloo, but once I turned pro, I tried to do one more by correspondence, and that didn't go so well. And then, I got maybe a year done out of the 4 I would need. So it's, when I say go back to school to be a firefighter, it's a little less. It's 6 months, 6-month program type thing. So.
It's probably smart to go right from playing right back into that, because I know for me, like, when I finished, I didn't do anything for, I was done working out. I'm like, you know what, I worked out my whole life, enough of this. So, and then I took 6 months off, and then you're just like a blob after that. So then I just had to get back into shape.
Do you have any pictures
for you?
Any pictures of Fat Michael or what?
No, I caught myself before it was full on Fat Mike, but you definitely it slips away a lot quicker than it comes back. So you did it right by just going right into, especially the profession. Obviously, you got to be in shape to do what you do. So that was a smart move on your part.
Yeah, I lucked out for sure, but there's a lot of food around the fire hall too, so got to be careful a little bit with that.
Gotta be careful. Yeah. So you're full-time then? You're full-time working there?
Yeah, I joined the volunteer department here back home right away, and got on there for a year before I didn't realize how competitive it was to get on a fire department. So it took me, I was lucky that it took me only a year, but felt like a lot longer. But yeah, I work in Brantford, which is just on the other side of Toronto now, and really enjoy it. Love the guys. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I got a buddy actually here that was doing the volunteer thing for a while before he went to school, and then he went to school and then had to do it again, and then finally got on. But it did take him a while to do. He was living in the firehouse and pretty much doing whatever needed to be done, but it took a while for sure.
Yeah.
So funny story. I still talk to Adam Keefe, and last week he sent me it was a full game of, I think it was 2004. It was whenever we played Erie in the finals or in the playoffs, and he sent me the whole game. I think it was game 3 in Erie. So we were watching it together, and it was just I don't know, comical to see. Even some of the guys, we were talking partially while watching it, and just how different it was to look back. That was 20 years ago, which is insane.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it does. And then you see players that you kind of forgot about, and then you're like, oh yeah, remember him. So it's pretty crazy to go back and see it, and it's on YouTube. But just from 2001 to 2005, we had a pretty good team there in Kitchener, and just the amount of like fun, like that was for me at least the funnest part about my hockey career was the 4 years in Kitchener. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it was just like you move away and you just are playing hockey and no other cares in the world, really.
That's a big thing, right? There's no responsibilities. You're just there to play hockey and enjoy the teammates. And yeah, we were lucky to have a good team too. Like I ended up moving quite a bit during my career, and that, as much as the city makes a difference, like having a good team and a good bunch of guys, that's what it's all about. Like the rest is a little bit less important. We were lucky that we were in Kitchener, and it's a great city, but the group of guys we had was amazing too. And it made me regret I think there was a Memorial Cup reunion at one point, and I wasn't able to go. But if there's ever another one, there's just so many guys you think about, like on my drive home today, and what are they doing now? And you just have no clue. It'd be nice to catch up. And I've been doing a bad job keeping up with people. But
yeah, I'm the same way. It's tough because you move. Like obviously, neither of us live in Kitchener, but then everybody else moves away and all over the world. And every once in a while, you see somebody or you see kind of their name somewhere and you're like, oh, I wonder what he's doing, or there's something happens and you remember a story. But it's tough to keep in touch with everyone because everyone's going in so many different directions. But every once in a while, like I still talk to Kiefer a lot. I used to see Clarkson all the time. I actually ran into Derek Roy in Vegas one year, which was crazy.
Small
just
world.
Like, the places that you run into people. But for me anyways, like I still talk to Gregory Campbell, and just like kind of shows how close we were as a group for those 4 years anyways. Even though it's been, like you said, 20 years, to run into somebody and still be able to talk to them and have kind of fun with them and enjoy them.
Well, that's a big thing for me. Like, I don't know your experience, but kind of, it's almost like we didn't miss a beat, right? Like you run into them and it's not awkward. It's just, you can start talking and then reminisce about the days and see what they're up to. And it's like, it's almost like it was yesterday at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing. You run into them, and there's still a handful of guys that I keep in touch with, but even the guys that I haven't talked to for a while, you can just run into them and just act like nothing's happened, like you've been best friends. So I think that goes well with how much success that we had in Kitchener. It was just, we had a team like that where we can enjoy each other presence, and still to this day, like you said, look forward to those reunions and going back to see everybody.
Now that we're old,
cool that we were able to do that. Now that we're old, yeah. Actually, when he said that 2001, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, that was 20 years ago. And then we were able to win in 2003, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And in Quebec, and last month, I believe they were talking about a team. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about Quebec City and how there should be a team there, and this and that. And then I remember they actually said the Dagobah, I think it was called, and that's where we went after we won in the Memorial Cup in Quebec City. So it's just funny how certain things just trigger certain memories, and the Memorial Cup was definitely one of them.
Oh, for sure. That was a highlight of my career for sure.
So and then Pete too, I still will talk to when I see him around. And then Spotter, you could always hear him from a distance. There was always a few times that I heard him in San Jose, and you can just hear him as well, just in the background. Like right away that it's him. But I don't know if you've seen those guys or been back to Kitchener in a while, but it just brings back so many good memories.
Yeah, it's funny mentioning Pete and Spotter, how, I've had lots of coaches in my years, and I'm sure you too, and I don't know how they fit in within the realm of the coaches you played for, but they're still two of my favorites. I think, especially since we were younger, and the impact that they had on me anyways, and kind of teaching us how to be a pro and how to play the game. And, I'll always be grateful for that, even though they made me want to quit playing hockey my second year. They were a little hard on me, but once I moved back on D, then they were awesome.
They're easier. Yeah. You know what? It's funny you say that because Jeff Swez, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
But he actually lived with me. He played for the Phantoms in the AHL in Philly. And when I was with the Flyers, he lived with me and would always come up to Kenora, and he actually lived with me in the summertime for a bit. And he always said that I'd always joke about how Pete was always tough on him and certain video sessions and certain times, but he always said like that's what he needed to be able to have success. And I know he always brings that up every time we kind of chirp him or make fun of him about Pete being hard on him, but he said that's exactly what he needed. So I don't know if that's
it's funny,
a similar situation.
Funny that you mentioned Swaz, because I still mention his name quite a bit whenever parents come up to me and talk about kids playing multi-sports and all that. I don't know if this is still possible nowadays, but I played with this guy in Kitchener that was playing hockey for 2 years, and then he was in the AHL.
Yeah, seriously. He was an overage rookie. Yeah, just 6'4", chiseled. But yeah, and that's hockey. I don't know how you feel about it, but I always, whenever I get asked about kids playing different sports and if they should just be just hockey, like I can remember playing all sports growing up, and I always tell them to make sure they do as many sports as possible. And I'm not sure if your girls play sports, but I always push other parents to do everything, just because you just get burnt out on hockey. So
for sure. You're trying to raise. So my girls do play hockey. My oldest started a bit late. Like she couldn't skate till she was we had her skating, but she didn't really skate till 7 or 8. And all of a sudden she just asked if she could play, because I never wanted to push her that way. Like, oh yeah, absolutely. So now I'm helping coach her team, and I love it. It's so much fun, but it's the same thing, right? She played baseball and she plays golf, and my youngest did gymnastics and dance and hockey, and trying to make rounded people, not just one sport athletes kind of thing. And I played volleyball all through high school while I was in Kitchener. Kind of had to hide a bit, but
I remember that actually.
Secret's out now.
But it is important though. One, I think you can get burnt out from it, and two, just like the different skills you get from different sports, I think helps out a lot. But so when we finished, where did you go right after junior?
Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, it's amazing. We only have an hour or 30 minutes.
So I signed with Hamilton. It was the lockout year, so I couldn't sign NHL. Not that there was much interest. I was undrafted, so I signed in Hamilton, played a year there, and then signed with Montreal, kind of just on paper, I guess. Didn't change anything, and kept playing in Hamilton. And had a tougher year. Like my first year went really well. My second year, I don't know if I was putting a little more pressure on myself or if what happened, but it wasn't as good. So I was getting healthy scratch quite a bit. And halfway through the year, a Finnish team reached out and asked if I wanted to go play there the year after. And so I jumped on that. And funny enough, we ended up winning the Calder Cup that year, and I was playing a bunch. So I kind of wish I hadn't signed that deal, but I ended up going to Finland for a year, and then from there, Sweden. Played in Södertälje. That's where my daughter Emma was born. And then felt like I wanted to come back and take another shot to see if I could make it here. And I owed Hamilton another year, so went back to Hamilton for a year. Then went to Binghamton in the Ottawa organization. From there, I went to Russia, and then came back to Binghamton for a year. Went to Chicago for the Wolves. How'd that work? I went to Binghamton, then Ottawa, Denver, Buffalo, then then I went to Chicago back in the AHL, back to Sweden for a year. Played in Cleveland after that in the A, got traded to Bridgeport, and then I had enough, called it quits.
Color. But you played, like, weren't you Colorado too? You played.
What's that, sorry?
Were you not in Colorado?
Yeah. So I was in Denver for 1 year, in Colorado.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had like a 2.5-year stint in the NHL, which was awesome. Like it was a great time. I loved it. I wish it would have lasted a bit longer, and I probably not have a weird relationship with hockey. I don't know. Do you still play at all?
I play with my buddies like Tuesdays and Thursday nights. That's about it though.
Yeah. So like when I hung it up, I did, like, my bag went in the basement and I put my skates on to coach my daughters, but that's it. Like I took my gear out the other day and it was full of mold. And so, but I think it was kind of, I got kicked around a bit. And if that didn't happen, maybe I'd still want to play a bit more. Like I hope one day I want to play again, but for now I had enough.
Yeah. It is tough though too. Cause once, like you're just like, so like even once junior starts, I feel like it's just, everything is just like hockey. So I think when you're done, I think everybody that I've kind of talked to who doesn't play anymore has kind of said the same thing of like, just enough, because that's all it is for as long as you play. It's just hockey. It's summer, it's training, getting ready, then the season starts.
And it's awesome, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And then your video, and then like even for myself, so 2016. So it'd be like 5 years, I think. And I'm just starting to kind of like watch hockey again, just because it was like so much for so long that like I couldn't even I just like almost cringe every time you see like a hockey game on, like, oh, we're watching this again.
I watched enough from the press box my last
year. So you're just like, enough's enough. But now I'm starting to kind of get back into watching it a little bit more. And but it's a lot. It's like, obviously it's a dream and all that, but you know, after a while it starts kind of wearing on you, and when you're done you just want to like never see it again for a while.
For sure. And I'm always careful. I don't want to seem like ungrateful or give the wrong mind. Like, right, it was, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It was awesome. I wouldn't change a thing. Like it's like you said, it's a long time and that's all it is. And then you know, now I can go golfing if I want, or I can spend time with the kids, or I can, right. There's just different priorities for a while, but
and everything too goes, like, you say you don't go on this trip because you gotta like train for hockey, or you don't go on the golf trip with your buddies because, like, you know, a week away in the August is probably not a great thing right before a season. So it is nice once you're done, you can, like, we've been traveling a lot, obviously with the pandemic changed it, but right when we were finished, we were like going to New York and like places that really never got to do. And we went overseas to Scotland to golf. So like things that you don't necessarily get to do when you're playing, it's nice to have that opportunity, and you don't have to worry about like, wow, it's early September, probably shouldn't be going for a week with your buddies somewhere. So it is nice to have that. I don't know if you're the same way.
Yeah, for sure. All this catching up a bit with stuff that you miss out on. And you know, it's sacrifice that we made because, you know, you have a goal and you're trying to achieve it. But every time you pop up on my social media feed, you're holding a fish. Like, how much do you fish over there?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty much, so for you went to the firehouse and you're like around teammates and stuff like that, whereas I tried to like find somewhere like competitive or something competitive to do after hockey. And so I golf a bit, and then I try to fish in a lot of tournaments just to get that like competitiveness. And I still play tennis. And,
are you any good at fishing?
No.
How's your golf game?
Golf game's pretty good. I can golf. Yeah.
I remember we had some good matches back in the day. And Whistle Bear and
yeah. Actually, there was a course. I think it was like anyways, I read the article, and it was I think it was Whistle Bear, and I was to get back to the earlier part of the conversation, like just like small things like that. It's like Whistle Bear, like we used to play there all the time, but it's brutal right now because I just got a new set of clubs, and obviously we can't golf in Ontario, so I'm like itching to like golf, and I'm like hitting balls into the lake, and it's just pretty much anything to find that competitiveness, I think, is now for me, with whether it's fishing, golfing, just something to kind of get the competitive juices out. It's something that I've missed anyways, but
yeah,
golfing's good.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean by the competitive aspect. Like I turn into a bit of a CrossFit nerd just because it has that competitive aspect to it, which I enjoy and keeps me in shape. But it's fun. I can work out how I want now. Don't have to do just hockey related stuff and stuff that's make me better on the ice. But funny enough about golf, my daughter been playing for 2 years now, but it was kind of hit and miss. She liked it, but just because her friends were there. Yeah. And then this year, finally, she's asking me to go to the driving range and go to the course and play. And so I'm like, well, maybe I can get my game back in shape. So I bought a membership, and then 2 days later, just shut everything down.
Shut down, yeah. Yeah, and that's what happened with us. We came back from Florida, and so we had to spend 2 weeks in isolation. And then my clubs came, so I'm like swinging in the yard every day. I'm just like chipping balls around. Like when we're like, first thing I'm doing when we leave isolation here is get to go to the driving range. And then 2 days before we were out of isolation, everything got shut down. So we are in this this holding pattern until Dougie says otherwise.
Yeah. Do you guys have a place down in Florida, or what? What do you guys do?
We just rent.
Okay.
We just rent. Yeah. So
I
bring the boat and clubs. So I golf a bit and fish. Just like there's like little lakes and canals that just have fresh water, like bass. That's pretty much what I do up here too. And then my wife brings horses, like a horse down, and then there's like a competition down there too. So both of us.
She does competition still?
A little bit, yeah. She stopped it for about 10 years. And then once we got the farm going here, she kind of got back into it.
Is it like show horses or jumping or racing?
Jumping.
What is it? Jumping.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So,
how are you on a horse? You getting any better?
No, I've only rode once.
Oh, really?
I rode once, and it wasn't even one of our horses. So we have
somebody has to shovel.
Yeah, that's me. I'm strictly maintenance. When we got the farm, she like started rescuing a few, and so now we have, I think, 10 horses and 4 ponies. And we went on a trip. What was it, like 3 years ago? And she said, I'll go fishing with you for the 3 days as long as we have 1 day of riding. So I was like, 3 days fishing just for 1 day riding. And so that was the only time I've ever been on a horse, is that 1 day that I was forced to. And
that sounds like when I go to Florida, we have a timeshare near Disney World. So we go down for a week every year, and I have to do 1 day at Disney, and then I can golf all the other days.
Oh yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah,
I love Disney. We went to Disney, I think it was last year, right before everything shut down, and I was like having a riot. Like we saw like the Mickey parade and everything, and Goofy. I thought it was like the best time ever.
It's great the first time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I'd go there a few times. It is chaos. I don't think I'd be going back probably
but the kids
day
love
after
it,
day.
so.
But yeah, I could see that. Yeah. You go on any of the rides there?
I'm not a big ride guy. I just go with my oldest loves rides, so she drags us on. Like if it was up to me, I probably would pass, but I go on, and sometimes I don't feel so good for a couple hours after.
Yeah. So the timeshares in Orlando. Is that
Yeah.
where, or is it close to? Yeah.
Yeah,
How
it's 10
often do you guys
minutes
get
away.
down there?
We've been
Nice.
every year until this pandemic. Sometimes my wife will take the kids too, once on her own. But no, I don't know how it's going to look once we start going again. Well, I guess nobody knows exactly how it's going to look. But
yeah.
And what's the reality with COVID up north? Like, do you guys have quite a bit, or is it?
No, it's we had probably about a month of I guess you could call it a surge, where it was like cases every day, and there's still a few here and there, but for the most part, it's a small town, and they actually do a good job of like keeping people from Winnipeg from coming to the cottage. So like that's really helped. But luckily we've been, other than maybe a month, it's been pretty decent. We haven't had too many, and it's just a small, like, I think there's 4 ICU beds. So I think they keep everything closed just to make sure that those don't get filled. But
yeah,
it's frustrating, but you can kind of see the reasoning for some of it. Golf, I still don't understand, but that could be, that could be a little bit of bias on that one. But how about
I think it's
guys?
all outdoor activities too, right? Like kids, the thing is, like, kids playing sports outdoors, I think is so good. So if there's a way to make it safe, like, I don't know, it's just like they ask me, like, they're like, what'd you do as a kid when stuff like that happens? It's like, it never happened. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're just trying to figure this out.
Yeah. And that's like, I couldn't even imagine not being outside. And like, so when I was a kid, I just remember like going to the golf course, like street hockey, like baseball, soccer, like everything. So I couldn't even imagine, like, I know my brother's kids are younger, so they're not quite in that, but my cousin's kids are probably about the same age as your kids, and they're kind of just like,
yeah, for sure,
searching for things to do.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll end at some point. Has to, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So are you on the lake over there?
Yeah. We I moved here, man, it's like 15 years ago now, so I've had the same place the whole time, and now this is where we're full time now. So
perfect.
How's the homeschooling going for you?
We're lucky. Our kids are
teacher.
They're pretty self-sufficient, which is good. I think just a bit younger than what my kids are, it's pretty challenging because parents have to be there a bit more, and most of them have to work too while they're at home. So we have friends that are struggling a bit more than we are, and I think I don't know. It's like, I think having young boys is tougher than young girls. Maybe there's some of that, or just higher energy kids in general. Like, our daughters do have a lot of energy, but when it's time to focus, they can still do that. I think some kids maybe struggle a bit more than that. Yeah. And that's like homeschool, I think, is fine for the kids that are academically, it's a little easier. If it's harder on you, then I think it's even worse than being in school for those kids. But
especially when there's 100 things going on other than like sitting staring at a computer. And I also don't, like, I've never been a big computer person, so like to think of like kids just sitting here staring at a computer seems like it would be tough. But
yeah, we're kind of lucky too that we live, like, we're in a small town too, so we have a bit, like, they have room outside to go play and run around. Like, I can't imagine trying to be in Toronto and like people everywhere. You don't want to go outside, and that'd be a different reality. Yeah,
for sure. Are they in French immersion or just?
No, they're not. They're just an English school. It was a bit of a debate at the start, but we were in Sweden and all over the place, and in the States, and it was kind of, to put that on them too was a little hard. They understand quite a bit of French, but I should be doing probably a little bit of a better job teaching them.
But that's all right though.
There's just not that much French. I guess there is some where we live, but it's just their school and where our life's free English. Cal doesn't speak French yet, so.
No, haven't taught her yet. It's only been, what, 25 years? 22 years?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well.
I think what else going on? Tell me about your Stanley Cup. You got 1, 2, 3?
Two. Both with LA. Yeah, it was the first one was like insane, like the party after and like the riot of like being the first team in LA was pretty cool. And then I think the best part about it is just like having it at home with like your buddies and stuff like that. Like that one day with the cup is insanely exhausting, but it's so much fun. And
do you drink beer from it, or is it too gross whenever it goes around everyone?
Oh no, you suck it up. Yeah, it's pretty cool just to like go and actually like inside the cup at the top, like Kenora Thistles won in like 1907 or something like that. So like inside the mug at the top, it actually says Kenora Thistles. So it's pretty cool when I was here to see all like everybody, like the first thing you notice. So everyone in town was pumped, but it's like we won, I think the second time, and we brought it to Vegas, and like the amount of people that just like don't even know anything, not a lick about hockey, but then just see the cup is pretty cool to see. But
made some new fans. They had to bring a team after that.
Yeah, apparently, and do well.
Yeah. I was living in LA. Were you right in the city, or were you outside? Or it seems like a busy place to be.
Yeah, we were in Manhattan Beach, so about a half hour from, probably an hour from downtown in like Hollywood area. So it was actually pretty quiet. There's a lot of people around, but that's just California, you know, like it's just packed everywhere. But for the most part, the area was nice. Yeah, it was good. It was nice. It's almost weird. Like so I got traded in 2012. And then like my first month there, I was like exhausted because it's literally 70 degrees and sunny every single day. And you're like golfing. I was like, going for bike rides. I bought a surfboard. So I was like surfing. And then like probably 2-3 weeks in a training camp, you're just like exhausted because you're just doing everything but hockey. So you kind of have to like calm yourself a little and just focus on hockey. But it's nice. It's a nice area.
We always wanted to play somewhere warm. Like every free agency, we'd be like, oh, maybe for once a team down south will reach out. We ended up somewhere cold, like everywhere.
Denver, Ottawa. Yeah. I mean, once the season starts, it's so busy that you don't really even notice it that much, like as a player. But like the beginning of the year and the end of the year when it's kind of slower, it's definitely nice. Like we golfed a lot when we were there. There's courses like a half hour away. And so the golf game got pretty decent when I was out there. But other than that, it's...
You gotta be scratched by now.
not quite scratched. No. If I ever learned how to putt, I'd be good. But it is fun and it's a good place to live. It's just so busy everywhere you go. Like you could just run to the store for milk and it'd take you like 20 minutes, traffic everywhere. So as a
especially coming from Kenora,
it's smaller, a big difference. But I don't know, it was nice, it was fun.
My wife started a company, so that's news when I was retiring. And so she's been doing that for 2.5 years now. It's like clothing and new concept she kind of came up with where she'd get like 2 small, 2 medium, 2 large, like very limited sizes. And then has a Facebook group with, I think she's got 5,000 girls in there now or whatnot. And just, it's amazing what you can do with social media nowadays.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
Have you kept up with your social media presence or?
No. So I I like every once in a while I'll like post something, I don't know, maybe once a month, maybe once every couple weeks. But I had Facebook for the longest time too. And then now it's just like, there's just so much negativity on most of the social media, like Twitter. I really don't go on anymore. Facebook, don't really go on. Instagram, I'll do it every once in a while. But it's just like, there's so much negativity. It's almost like hard to like go on there and like not leave in like a foul mood. But other than that,
yeah,
I think I kind of missed out too when I was playing. I think it would be more of like something that you'd want to like share with fans, but now you're kind of just like, I don't know, almost trying to like hold on.
Yeah, well, everybody was saying like, oh, you want to build your brand, you want to, you know, do that kind of stuff while you're playing so you can use it after. But I don't know, I valued my privacy kind of thing. I didn't want to get involved in that as much as, because it's a full-time job, those guys that are really into it and
that are doing it. Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, like even to see like now some of the people that do it, it's like everywhere they go, they just have like their phone, and it always kind of annoys me when you're at like either a big sporting event or a big event and you see people like filming or looking at their phone, and you're like, you know, try to enjoy it. Like, what are you doing? You know, like you'll never watch that video again. So I was like you, I always kind of enjoyed my privacy and still do actually. Like I don't usually post anything other than like a generic like fishing pic or like a pic of the dogs or anything, you know? So
yeah,
I just find it a little, for me anyways, a little different if I'm like putting everything online. But
yeah, for sure. I feel like I missed out though. I gotta plug my wife's company here, the Happy Pineapple Boutique. Check it out.
Yeah, the Happy Pineapple. The Happy Pineapple. I'm gonna put that on my phone right now. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's mostly girls' clothes though. But
yeah, my wife does some online shopping more than a little. What is it? What is it?
The Happy Pineapple Boutique.
The Happy Pineapple. Awesome. Yeah, I'll get her. I'll tell her to check it out.
Besides that, you still talk to your billets, Mike?
Yeah, mostly talk to them just through email. They came up when we had the Cup in 2012 and 2014. So Dave and Wendy came up for that. And actually between was the 2015 and 2016 season, I joined Washington in January, so I went down to Kitchener actually and stayed with them. I went back and lived with my billets at age 30 and skated with the Rangers for a week, so it was actually pretty cool. And they were supposed to come to the wedding last summer, but obviously with the pandemic they weren't able to. So at some point we'll have a party and hopefully they can come up for that. But how about you? You still go back
I had two billets. I had the Slipix, which I kind of lost track of after my first year, and then I moved in with Ray and Twyla, and I just do a bad job of keeping track of people once I move out, like say with my friends when I'm away. But I was at Wonderland, was it 2 years ago? And this big guy, just Andre, and I turned around, I couldn't quite place him, but I knew him, and it was Sarb, which was Twyla's brother. And so I got their number to kind of be able to reach out. And the next couple months later, my daughter had a tournament in Waterloo, hockey tournament. So I sent them a text or called them, and then we met up with them, which was awesome. It was great to see them again and see what they were up to. Yeah. And actually their son got drafted for the in the NLL, the National Lacrosse League.
Oh, nice.
But then the pandemic hit, so I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, just screwing everything for everybody. But that's pretty cool, though. Like billets do so much. It's pretty like crazy when you look back when you're 16 years old and you're just like leave to go with a family. It's like, okay, you're living with this person now. So
well, it's hard to understand how much they do for you, right? They really do take you in and cook. And now, like, having my life and my routine and thinking about having a junior hockey kid coming live here, like, it'd be a lot. So
it would be a lot.
They do.
Yeah, it's for crazy. Sure. Exactly how much,
and they don't do it for the money, right? There's not that much for them. It's just because they want to be helpful and they want to help you like achieve your goal. And
and the amount of crap they have to put up with from a 16 to 20-year-old confident hockey player is probably a lot. But no, they definitely. I thought about
that the other day, like thinking back when I was like 15, 16, like I thought I was a full grown man. And now I look at my daughter who's turning 13. I'm like, you're just a child. Like, is that really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's hilarious.
And then imagine having the confidence of leaving home and going to be on a junior team. Probably some pretty confident teenagers to go live with some families. But they definitely do a great job. It's pretty awesome.
For sure.
So what do you got going in the future? What are your future plans, either coming up short term or long term?
Yeah, right now I got a little pool project in my backyard, kind of do it yourself thing that I took on. So I'm gonna try and get that done. But so that's gonna keep me busy this summer. And then other than that, I'm gonna coach my oldest daughter's hockey team this year, which will be fun. Nice. And then it's just going to be routine as usual. Try to be a good dad and go from there. What about you? Anything coming up?
Nothing immediate. Just stuff with the farm that I mentioned before. I'm out there a few times a week, just puttering around, doing what needs to be done, doing what the wife tells me to do out there. And other than that, we still plan on going down to Florida next year. And, I've got offered actually a few different, I don't know if it was jobs in the NHL with some teams, but just not fully committed to that just yet. So
is that what you see yourself doing in the future, kind of getting back in the game at some point?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not really sure. I've thought about it. There's times when I start watching hockey and think I'd be, decent at some of the jobs and thinking that you can do it. But then like you think of how much work and travel and time it is to do. So I don't think it's something that you can just like, tiptoe into. I think if you're going to do it, you have to like really do it. So we'll see. We have no kids at the moment, so we have some time to kind of plan
it's hard to decide NHL or Kentucky Derby. You got to pick what you want to do, right?
Kentucky Derby. I'd go to the Derby if we had racehorses, but I don't know. It like I said, it's not something that you could just like, I'll do this part-time. It's like from talking to friends that have been scouts and have worked with some teams. It's a lot of time and definitely a lot of time away from home, especially when you live in Kenora. So it's something that you gotta like commit to and be ready.
It's funny because I always thought I was gonna coach after I was done, and it's the moving that and the insecurity that I couldn't put up with. But maybe further down the line, who knows? Because I'm sure you have a lot to offer a team, or your experience and your knowledge. So if you decide to do that, I'm sure you'll be successful.
Yeah, I think coaching, nowadays would be so tough just because of the amount of video that they watch. And it's just like we were talking about, like homeschool, where you're just sitting and staring at the computer literally all day. I think that would be tough. But if it was like scouting or like somewhere in the front office, I think it would be something that would be a little bit more open to. But we'll see.
That's funny because I actually started a company. I thought like, you got to be able to teach hockey sense. And I was thinking like, I'll do an online video review for kids, right? Trying to teach them how to think the game. There's got to be But then sitting in front of a computer watching kids play hockey, I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's tough. It's like takes a certain kind of person that, like I'm guessing like 20 years ago or 15 years ago, it was probably a lot more of like interacting with players and, that sort of thing when you're coaching. But now it's just, you finish a game, you break down that game, you look at the, 2-3 games from the other team you're playing tomorrow. And it's just like a lot of long hours. And I just don't know if I'm committed at this point to be putting those hours in.
Yeah. It's funny how much the game's changed too. I don't know if you had the same thing, but they're kind of a story. I was in Buffalo and we had a practice rink and I was walking through to go to our change room. And they looked to be like 11, 12-year-old kids that were doing stuff on the ice. And we looked at each other like, we can't do that. And the new crop of players coming up, like it's crazy. And they're just getting in the league now. Like they're so talented. That's all they've done, right?
Yeah. I mean, even just looking at the guys in the NHL, like McDavid right now, who is like, like he's a guy, like I don't watch a ton of hockey, but if I see him on, I will flip it to, whether it's 5 minutes or, a period or two, I'll watch him. And he's at least 4 or 5 times where I've been sitting on the couch where he's made me kind of like say out loud, like, oh my God.
I'm glad I'm sitting on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that's not me. And Matthew's the same way. So like you said, those kids that, you couldn't do that while they're just getting there. And I know when I watch McDavid or Matthews, I say that a lot. I can definitely not do that. So pretty crazy. But
that's funny.
Yeah. So what is your memory from Kitchener, either your favorite memory or memory that you have from playing with the Rangers or just all around?
This just came to my mind right now, and I don't know if it's a good one. I don't know if I want to share it or not.
We are being recorded, like I said.
No, we like the plane ride back from Quebec City after we won. Like you mentioned the Dagobert, like we went out and obviously had a good time. Oh, yeah. That was one of the toughest plane rides I've been on, I think, in my life.
It wasn't a very big plane. If I remember, it was like Air Canada, but it was like a prop Air Canada.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't like jumper.
Yeah, it wasn't like a jet. Like you're not jetting. It was like a plus size of a float plane.
Yeah. No, for sure. For me, that whole playoff series was like the playoffs leading up to the Memorial Cup, and then the Memorial Cup was, as awesome as a memory as I've had playing hockey. It's people always ask like Calder Cup or Memorial Cup, and it's like they're two different things. But anytime you work together with a bunch of guys and you end up winning, it's so special.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump on that. The best part was the OHL and the Mem Cup, like those two. I guess it was about a month span where we played Ottawa, beat Ottawa, and then you have like a week off, so you're like maybe a little bit more than a week off, but you're like partially celebrating but partially getting ready for the Memorial Cup, and then like going there. And that 2 weeks in Quebec City was definitely the highlight. And then our last year in Kitchener was also like that whole year, I think, was fun between just the guys that we hung out with, like me, you, Clarky, like Kiefer. We definitely had a good time where there was just like hanging out at the rink, or you're like downstairs working out in that little computer room that they made there. It was just a pretty awesome group of guys. And, there's no one specific like memory other than like winning the OHL and the Memorial Cup, but just like a million like small memories of just being in the dressing room together and like,
yeah, for sure,
screwing around on a computer.
I remember being so shocked. When we lost that series to London, the conference finals. Like in my mind, there was no doubt we were repeating. Like there was, like, looking back, they had a pretty good team.
Yeah, they were all right. Yeah, but I agree. When they beat us in 5 or 6, but
wasn't even that close.
No, it was, but yeah, just like I said, just small memories that add up to pretty awesome stuff. And like I'll say what I told you guys before. My first memory of the OHL was getting beat up by that. I forget the guy's last name, but he was like a 6'4" guy, defenseman that beat me up. I think it was my second game. So that was my welcome to the OHL.
Don't give him the credit of saying his name.
No, I don't even remember it, but I wouldn't either way. So, but the funny thing is about remembering, trying to think of what the first OHL goal was, and I can't remember what it was, but I can definitely remember the first OHL beating, and that was it. But
that's funny. That leaves more of a mark.
Yeah,
you scored a lot of goals.
I still do have a mark. Yeah.
I don't remember you getting beat.
I have a scar to thank him for that.
Yeah.
That was early on. Yeah. Before I knew what I was doing, I picked my spots a little better. But,
that's funny. Well, it was good catching up.
Alrighty, bud. Well, it was awesome catching up. Yeah, it was awesome. I haven't seen you for a while, so it was nice for them to set this up. It was awesome.
For sure. Take care.